Hi everybody, I just want to give you a quick walk through the Dropbox tool in Desire to Learn. It's a very simple tool to use, and it is very similar in nature to the assignments that we've seen in Educator. There's one way in which this tool functions just a bit differently from the other tools we've seen in Desire to Learn. And I apologize again, I'm making this the same morning I made the discussion board post. So my son is sleeping just down the hall, so I'm speaking quietly. And as I said there, I do need to make these videos at home because Camtasia, which is the software I'm using for them, does not work on my office system. I'm due for a replacement system this spring. So for now, I'm doing these at home. So at any rate, coming down to Dropboxes, I'll click on Dropbox. Now here is how this works differently. Every other tool we've looked at, you've had an option to create sort of a general category, and then another option to create the actual item inside it. So we had modules. Within modules, you created topics. In discussion boards, we've got forums, and within forums, you create topics. The Dropbox tool organizes its content the same way, but you create the general folders, the categories a little bit differently. So here's what I'm going to. The new folder, the folder is what D2L actually calls the Dropbox. So the folder is the assignment to which your students will upload an external document that you want to assess. Okay, and that's basically what the Dropbox is. It's a place where they can upload work into Desire to Learn. So it's a place where you can create an assessment that's not linked specifically to a quiz or a discussion board or something like that. So again, very much like the assignments in Educator. So I will create a new folder. Now here everything is very familiar. This is my creative writing course, so I'll do elements. Elements of fiction will be. Well, let me do what I would actually do. Story 1, a draft for their first short story. This can be linked to a group assignment if you're working with groups, which is another very nifty tool in Desire to Learn. I will introduce you to next time I get to sit down and do a few of these tutorials for you. I'll do groups, and I'll do the testing tool. For now, I'll leave it as an individual submission folder. Group submission folder will link it to a group for them to submit their group project. This is something each student will post his or her own story, so I'll leave it individual. Now here's where the Dropbox is a little bit tricky, where it's a bit different from what we've seen before. The folders are organized by category. Unfortunately, from the Manage Dropbox area, you cannot create categories. You actually have to do it from here within your very first folder. So I have no idea why that's the case. I have no categories right now, so I will click on Create Category, and this will be Elements of Fiction, my first, what I've been using as my first kind of unit in my creative writing course. Okay, now when I create this, this will appear inside a category called Elements of Fiction. I'll show you that in just a second. As we saw with the discussion board, you can also, from this screen, create a grade item which is attached to this Dropbox. And if you skip this step, this is important to point out, if you skip this step, if you don't click on this right now, there will be no grade item on your grade sheet associated with this Dropbox. In other words, it'll be a place where they can upload things, but you won't be able to assign a grade. Now that said, if you miss out on it here, you can later add the grade item and associate it using the grades area of the course. But let's keep it simple and do it here. So, new grade item. The name of the grade item will be Story 1. Short name, it's fairly short, I don't need that. I'll make it worth 1,000 points because that'll excite my students because I think they're getting a lot out of it. And can exceed, bonus, all of these we talked about with the discussion board. This basically determines how this is going to be graded. And I've got restrictions. I can make the grade item available at a certain date. I'm not going to do that, so I'll click on Save. Okay, restrictions, activities, same as we've seen elsewhere. So here is my new Dropbox, so I will save it. Oh, now here is something that is deeply annoying about this as well. The Dropbox tool is a little bit different, but this is, once you've created the Dropbox, as soon as you associate with a grade item, the Dropbox also wants to know how many points that grade item is worth. So you'll get this error all you have to do is scroll down. You'll see this little pop-up window by the out of, and that's where you put the grade value there again. And again, I'm not quite sure why this tool works differently. There may be a perfectly valid reason for it that I just don't get. Now, I can come back to my folder list view, and we now see Elements of Fiction as a category. Within the category, there is my Dropbox. Okay, from within the Dropbox then, when there are submissions, you see I've got Jane Doe as my only student here. When there are submissions, you will have the date of the submission, and you will be able to click here, go to the submission, and grade it directly. Okay, another nifty option that Delta will need to decide if it wants to invest in this. If you're familiar with Turnitin.com, should we go for a site-wide license on Turnitin.com, which is a plagiarism screening service, you can actually link your Dropbox directly to Turnitin.com. If you've worked with it before, it's just a little bit of a headache. You have to go in, create your course, create your students, have your students submit their work to Turnitin.com. There's a seamless interface between Desire to Learn and Turnitin.com, which is actually very, very nifty. But we need, as a college, then to do the buy-in for that. So if you want to encourage your chairs to push for that, I said nothing about that to you here, but I would not be complaining about it because I think it's a very nifty tool. And that's it for Dropbox as a quick overview. Again, these tutorials do not take the place of working through the formal training, an hour session with a trainer, but I'm hoping they're enough so that you can begin thinking about how you might pull these tools together for that unit of instruction you're developing for me.